Hello, I'm Jacob with the Virtual Technology Assistance Program at Thomas Nelson Community College. Today we will be covering how the mouse works, using a standard computer mouse, using a laptop trackpad, and dragging and dropping. And as always, the video has timestamps, so feel free to skip ahead. A computer mouse is primarily a pointing device. It is used for interacting with graphical user interfaces. Some of you may remember older computer mice that would have a tiny plastic ball which would roll around on your surface. These mice worked by having two rollers pressed up against the ball. One would track the mouse's Y position, and the other would track the mouse's X position. Modern mice work in a similar way, but instead of using a ball to track their location, they use an infrared sensor or a laser sensor. These different technologies work in very similar ways, but if you are more interested in the difference, I've linked further reading in the description below. The mouse optical sensor will take many pictures of the surface it is placed on, focus on the imperfections in the surface, and compare the picture with other recently taken pictures in an attempt to determine how much the mouse has moved. As soon as the mouse has figured out how much it has moved, it'll send the information either through a cable or wirelessly through a receiver attached to the computer. There are generally 5 inputs for a computer mouse. The first we already covered, the positioning sensor. So you can see that right there. This one uses infrared, you can tell because of the red light. There's also the left click, which is controlled by the right hand's index finger. The right click, which is controlled by the right hand's middle finger. The scroll wheel, and the scroll wheel button, also known as the center click. Notice how I'm pressing the wheel down for that. The left click button you will probably use the most. It is how you select an option or tell the computer that you want to use whatever the cursor is on top of. When somebody says, click on this button, they mean use the left click. For example, on our YouTube channel, I can hover the mouse over the play button and click it to interact with it. I can pause it or click on some of the other links, such as this article here. And notice how I'm using the scroll wheel to go further down the page. I can check the comments. Oh, there's no comments just yet. But I can scroll all the way back up and go to the top of the video. Here you can see this file. I could try to open it normally, but there might be something else I want to do with the file. So let's right-click on it and see what other options there are. So I can tell it to open with a different program, like say Paint, if I want to edit it. So I can fill in all the white space with a different color, all because I was able to open it with a different program. The scroll wheel is used to move down a page if the content doesn't fit all on at once. This is one of the sources I have linked for further reading, and notice how I am using the scroll wheel, and the page is moving as I move it. The center click button is probably one of the least used buttons on the computer mouse. To use it, press down on the scroll wheel. Notice how it created a little anchor point, and as I move the mouse up or down, it scrolls automatically. See how I'm not even clicking anything. It just automatically does that. And I slow it down by bringing it closer to the anchor point. And then to remove the anchor point, I just click it again. This is very useful if you want to scroll all the way to the top of the page all at once, like this. While a laptop can't be used with the mouse plugged in, most will come with a trackpad. Moving your finger around on it controls the cursor. Tapping on it once registers as a left click. And pressing down on the right side registers as a right click. Scrolling is a bit more difficult, but it can be done on the trackpad as well by using 2 fingers to move the cursor. The trackpad will tell the computer to scroll. There are minor differences in how trackpads work, but most laptops running Windows 10 should operate similarly to this. Dragging and dropping is another important skill with the mouse. In this Google Doc with placeholder text, we can use the mouse to change where the insertion point is, or to select multiple lines at once. To drag, hold down the left click button and move the mouse without letting go of the left click until you get to the end point. Don't feel bad if you can't do it on your first try. I have found this to be something difficult for people learning to use a computer mouse to pick up. Dragging and dropping is also useful for moving files. Just click the files you want to move and drag them to where you want. You can also drag and drop a little box to select multiple and drag them back over. This will work anywhere on the Windows 10 desktop or in the File Explorer. Saved here, I have the Thomas Nelson logo. By dragging and dropping, I can click once to select it and drag it onto my desktop, and there it's moved. The last thing I want to go over is double-clicking. Most of the time you use the mouse, you will need to single-click, where you press the left click button once and the action happens. It can be frustrating to click on an icon and for nothing to occur. What might be happening here is you need to double-click instead. You will need to double-click an icon that is on the Windows desktop or in the Windows File Explorer to open it. This is because clicking it once lets us select it. I'll be covering more things you can do with files that are selected in my upcoming video on keyboard shortcuts. As soon as it is posted, I will link it in the description below. Some people, when they realize they forgot to double-click, just click it once more, and unless they click it a second time very fast, this won't work. You will need to click twice in rapid succession. Otherwise, you will find yourself right back where you started, with an unopened file. Another thing double clicks are useful for is to select one word at a time, like this. And a triple click will select an entire paragraph. I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions about the material covered, be sure to leave them in the comments, or send them to vtaptncc@gmail.com, and we will respond as soon as we can. This was video 2 out of 3 in the basics of Windows 10. The next video will be focusing on keyboard shortcuts in Windows 10. Thank you for watching.